Hello friendly folks, it's me here, Squid. Today, I want to talk to you guys about my favorite game series of all time, the Batman Arkham series. Every single game. Now, I'll get to you someday, you son of a... Batman Arkham Asylum is, believe it or not, a fun game. The story takes place in Arkham Asylum and involves Batman being stuck in a prison with his greatest foes like the Joker, Poison Ivy, Tax Fraud, and my personal favorite, Scarecrow. This game is structured very differently than any of the other Arkham games. This one is more Metroidvania style, which basically means everything is there for you at the beginning. You just need the proper items to access that location. The world is beautiful and has hidden details everywhere, all sprinkled around. The only problem with the open world is how specific it is to go from one area to the other. There is no leniency on how to approach things for the most part, but you know, that's okay. Most people will call the combat in these games smooth like butter. But when the series is first starting out, I think it's more smooth like peanut butter. While it appears smooth and nice at first, the more you try to spread it across the bread, you realize the bread breaks. It breaks really quickly. The gameplay is pretty awesome. It's split up into 3 sections, all with different bits of quality. The first is the combat. It is kind of a mess compared to the later games in the franchise. A lot of your combos and special moves aren't there, which makes the combat feel super duper limited. And Batman isn't a ballerina in this game, but in the later games, he is literally going from one side of the room to another, which is for gameplay's sake, so it's not too bad, but he just feels a little bit off in this one. But for the first of its kind, the combat is pretty fun, with a few missteps. The other bit of gameplay that is kind of lackluster is the exploration aspect. Batman has to glide around from one area to another. Everything has to connect well to make that work with multiple grappling points, and that is one area this game falters, and with no dive bomb mechanic. The moment you start gliding, you're already going down, which is never good. The final bit of gameplay is the Predator sections, aka the stealth sections. These are actually amazing in every way, shape, or form. They basically make it into a horror movie, but you're not the victim. You basically murk these guys, and they have nothing to do but lose. You have to use all your gadgets, and if you do it, it's a great feeling. I mean, I'm not even kidding. You can hunt down a man, you can make him so scared that he lays down his weapons, and it tells you everything you want to know. It is a great feeling. Anyways, this is the most refined part of this entire game, and it's truly amazing. Do you know what the Batman Arkham series and the Boss Baby have in common? They both got the boss fights, baby! The boss fights are actually pretty fun. Fun fact, these boss fights were actually the final thing to be made in the development for this game, because they didn't even know if they wanted to make it. But there are some true bangers in here and a few doo-doos. The Poison Ivy fight was amazing. It was a little bit dull, but these aren't really meant to challenge you too much. They're meant to be set pieces for which you can be very, very cool and have a very, very fun time. The final boss, Joker, was pretty terrible, but the set piece was awesome. And I know everyone hates it, but I found it quite enjoyable. The others were okay, but really nothing special. But the king of Batman Arkham Asylum for the PS3, Xbox 360, Xbox One, and PS4 boss fights have to go to the Scarecrow boss fight. As you all know, these are amazing, and everyone their mom knows about how fun they are. Creative and interesting it can be. I'm not going to do much more in detail because it's too awesome to ignore. This game has some high highs and some low lows. Some would say you'd be crazy enough to go inside an asylum. Funny. In conclusion, this game is so very awesome. It has everything you'd want to really immerse yourself as Batman. The only problem with it is that it reeks of it being the first entry, which isn't the game's fault per se, so I'm not going to knock off any points for it, but it's just, you really can't ignore the other entries in the series. While great in every definition of the word, it just falls short in some areas, so it gets a solid 8 out of 10 Joey Tribbiani's. Keep in mind, there are no bad entries in this series. Well, maybe. Today we're going to talk about my favorite game of all time, Batman Arkham City. 10 out of 10 Joey Tribbiani's. Wait, you guys actually want me to talk about this game? Bet! Yes! Booyah! Batman Arkham City is amazing. I love this game more than my newborn child. Wait a minute. Anyways, there is so much to love here, from the characters to the villains to the open world to the challenge maps to it all. Where Asylum failed, this exceeds expectations. This game has so many great new additions like the open world, Robin, Nightwing, and Catwoman. In the open world, this game is filled with so much stuff to do, like over 440 Riddler Trophies. I 100% this game twice. That is how great this game is.
Yes, I love great stories, just like the ones from Over the Hedge. Truly amazing.
This story is amazing. Basically, Arkham Asylum is just too old to use, so Quincy Sharp, the mayor, listens to Hugo Strange and makes a super prison out of the slums of Gotham City. Then Bruce Wayne gets thrown in there, and next thing you know, you got Bat, corruption from the government officials, the whole 9 yards. There's also a story exclusive DLC turned paid DLC turned to free for everyone, Catwoman's DLC, and it is, a little short, but a nice distraction. It boils down to Catwoman and Poison Ivy having fun, and Catwoman trying to get revenge on Two-Face, and it's a decent amount of fun. A nice distraction from the main game, if a bit boring, but honestly, I'll play anything Arkham related. I mean, I have beaten this game over 5 times for a reason.
This game is like a nice, cool glass of water. Refreshing. Only in this case it's Diet Coke.
The combat is improved by a large margin in this game. They got the flow of Arkham Asylum and multiplied it by 6. Basically, what I'm saying is punching and kicking people is so much fun. They added combos to this game, which makes the combat even better than the hit movies of our generation, Osmosis Jones. The flow of the movement is even better. They finally let you dive bomb, which means you can go from one side of the map to the other without stopping. You can even unlock a grapnel boost, which makes it even better. I keep saying everything is better, but it's true. This is such a massive improvement in every definition of the word. Finally, we got the Predator sections, and honestly, there's no way to improve.
The open world is one of the biggest L's in gaming history. They try to hide the fact by not putting an L inside the title, Batman Arkham City. Prove me wrong. I dare you.
The open world is very, very bad. Now, I like how small it is. It seems perfectly made with the gliding system, and the grappling getting from one area to another is just so nice. But the problem is how the map is laid out. You see, the Wonder Tower is put right in the middle of the map, and is terrible because you can't enter the area, which means if you want to go from Joker's hideout to Penguin's, you need to go all around the map. And I know that you can go through the subway, but it is so hard to navigate through there. You're going to have more luck just going around. But I shouldn't have to go around it just to make the game harder for no reason. That's really my only complaint with this game, is poor map design.
You know what Batman Arkham City and the boss baby have in common, you may ask? They both got the boss fight, baby.
Now, literally the best part of this game is the side quests. Now, if you take your time and do them during and after the story, you will truly be immersed in the story. For example, the Riddler side quest is super duper beefy, like 20 hours beefy, with over 440 activities. If you're like me, you will enjoy it because anything Arkham related is fun. If it even has the best payoff of any of the Riddler missions, and I'm not gonna spoil it, but it's pretty sick. Also, the side quest where people get murdered and you have to find the killer is surprisingly amazing and has a great twist at the end. Finally, the Zaz side quest, where you have to track him down by tracking his calls and learning where he is hiding. So we get to beat him up. It's truly amazing and honestly the greatest part of this entire game.
This game is the over the hedge of video games. Need I say more?
So, Batman Arkham City as a whole is literally the best game I've played basically ever, with tons of fun content that'll never ever ever get boring. This game is just so perfect in basically every regards ever. I don't think I can really say more about it, so overall, a 10 out of 10 Joey
Time to take a deep dive into the thing I hate most, to the thing I want to kill. This video game. This game, Batman Arkham Origins, shall be murdered.
Now, before we begin with the Batman Arkham Origins review, I feel like I have to start with some context. This game wasn't developed by Rocksteady, who made the other 3 games in the series. This was a filler title made by WB Montreal. I feel like is very, 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 very important because this game just uses the engine from Arkham City, which means I must love the game, right? Right? The answer is no. No, I do not like this game. Like, at all.
So this game really does show how the Dark Knight rises. But this time, not 2012.
This game's story is basically Black Mask hires 8 assassins to kill Batman, but he later finds out Joker is there and tries to break Batman. It's actually fun. The story, while simplistic, shows so much promise, and this game, I'd have to compare it to one of those Batman animated movies. They're pretty stupid and kind of lackluster, but overall, you're gonna get what you paid for, and there's nothing really wrong with that.
Batman's only been crime fighting for what? 3 years? I've been protecting someone my whole life. His name is myself. Boom, no one's killed me yet. So you know what? I think I'm doing a little bit better than Batman's ever done.
Now, the combat in this game kind of takes a back step. The regular combat sections are super duper fun. The bad guy varieties have stepped up entirely, like we have big dudes, ninjas who are actually super strong, and anything you'd see in Arkham City, so it's pretty amazing on that front. Halfway through the story, we get some electric shock gloves, which at first seem really fun and useful, but the more you use them, you see how OP they seem. It's actually overpowered, and it makes the combat just so boring. It turns right back into a button masher instead of the combat we were used to getting in City. Even the Predator sections have been nerfed, with you getting a type of line launcher where after you upgrade it, you can get on a gargoyle and fire it at troopers, and it's an instant KO. It alleviates all the challenge from the game and just makes it terrible. Finally, the traversal elements in this game is probably the worst in the entire series. There's no momentum at all. You use your dive bomb and you get no airtime whatsoever. There is no use in flying around. You're better off fast traveling, which you never want to say in a video game.
This wasn't the game we wanted, but the one we... No, I don't think we needed it at all. I don't even think it was deserved.
Now, something I really enjoyed about this game are the side quests. They're super duper fun, and even though they're not all created equally, the Mad Hatter one in particular is awesome. I also love the variety of the enemies. It really does make the combat challenging without being unfair. Also love the music. In Arkham City, the music was kind of slow, but in Origins, you could hear it a mile away, and it really does slap. This is one of the only Arkham games worth listening to the soundtrack. But that's about all I truly like about this game.
Okay, time for the gloves to come off. It is time I bloody murder this game.
Finally, the part of this entire review that I've been waiting for. Now, I was going to give this game a pass and say, oh well, but then I played Batman Arkham City a bit, and I cannot excuse this game any longer than I already have. You see, in Arkham City's overworld, and it's clean, you can see what's happening. Everything makes sense, but in Arkham Origins, the screen is just white. For some reason, it has a filter that makes it so hard to see everything, and nothing makes any sense. In this game, you can't grapple to anything. You will spend half the game trying to grapple and falling simply because the game wouldn't allow what was there to begin with. I haven't even started on the cutscenes. Oh my gosh. While they look nice and appealing, this game suffers harshly from not fitting the aesthetic tone of the series, and just looks plain bad. In comparison, I hate how the gliding works. You see how every other game in the series works. The glide only goes as far as fast as the world is big. For example, in City, your glide is slow because the world is small and condensed. But in Arkham Knight, the world is huge and great, and you're zipping around with super speed. But no! In Arkham Origins, the map is double the size with no speed improvements. You're moving around so slow you can barely glide anywhere. Heck, you're just grappling everywhere instead of gliding. This game is just so bad in some areas. Heck, we haven't even discussed the glitches in the final boss. The final boss. This game glitched out and the fight didn't even work at all. This game, in comparison to any other Arkham game, is horrifying.
Whew. Finally got that out of my system.
So in conclusion, this game isn't horrible, it's just so frustrating, and I really hate how most of this stuff is handled. I feel like another year of development would have given it some new life. But if I had to give this game a number score, I'd have to give it a 6 out of 10. Again, I don't really hate it. I do hate it. Not like a weak hate. Like, it's not a dislike strong, but a little over hate weakly. Arkham is Arkham after all, so I can still play it every now and again.
Batman Arkham Knight, it doesn't seem that dark in here to me.
Batman Arkham Knight, the final game in the series, is something else. It's super duper fun with a pretty banger story. Basically, Scarecrow has made a bomb and plans to blow up the East Coast with fear toxin. Wow, the Arkham Knight controls Gotham, and it's pretty amazing. This game kind of has a bad reputation, but I would declare it. I mean, it's actually pretty sweet.
Kind of starting to run out of Batman-related puns. Why?
The combat in this game is peak perfection. I actually cannot think of a game that does this style of combat better. I love the combat sections so much. They are so perfect in every way, shape, or form. The combat is so good, I really can't say much about it. The same goes for the Predator sections. These are just so good that it blows my mind and works super duper well. The Traversal is also perfected here, with everything just blending together perfectly. With the Batmobile, which we will talk about in a minute, is so amazing you have no clue what.
Now, if you thought this game was perfect, let me tell you about why this game is like Shrek Forever After and why it's so controversial, aka the Batmobile.
The Batmobile is really good. It's pretty refreshing for the most part, with it split up into 3 parts. The tank combat was really good for 5 types of enemies, so it's always really diverse and a super fun time. The other sections are the Cobra Tank sections, which are actually pretty big dumb. It is a tank stealth section. Like, why is this a thing? Gameplay wise, it is pretty fun, but story wise, it makes 0 sense. But I don't think that really gives it a good excuse. Honestly, they should just take them out of the game. The final thing is just zooming around the city, which works like a charm. It is so much fun going around the city and going from tank to gliding back to tank in a minute without any of the flow stopping. Now, the problem I have with the tank sections, is they're too frequent in the main story. They are 50% in the game, 30% combat, and 20% stealth, which is really disappointing because the other areas are so well put together, it just lacks in comparison. And if the Batmobile only did the tank sections like 3 times, it would have made it feel much more impactful and cool. But sadly, they did not do that.
Now, what does the date, June 20th, 1997, have to do with this, you may ask? They both star Batman and Robin in the very hit film.
Cool party!
The side quests in this game are amazing. From the Penguin Nightwing one, where you basically have to destroy the Penguin's empire, to the Professor Pig one, where you have to track him down by the people he murdered. It's so much fun, and I cannot stress how much time it takes to do everything. One thing I'm kind of disappointed about is there are only 260 Riddler Trophies instead of the 440, which was kind of sad, but fair. I mean, not many people even enjoy the Riddler Trophies. But here, it's really fun, with Catwoman being involved. That isn't even the worst side quest. There are some really disappointing ones, like the Hush one, which is less than 10 minutes long, and overall super boring. There's like 3 others like that, but there is so much greatness involved. I'll give it a good pass.
So it looks like this is the end. Just kidding! DLC time, baby!
The DLC is I mean, for $20, it's kind of a steal. I got it on sale for $5, so I am the greatest thief of all time. Anyways, there are 4 side quests in the base game, and it's super fun, with Mr. Freeze being the best by far. But the Mad Hatter one was pretty dull, but it's not terrible. The challenge maps are a fun distraction, but that'll only be entertaining for a while. The best part of the are the Arkham episodes, aka the Bat Family areas. You get to play as Robin, Nightwing, Batgirl, Harley Quinn, Red Hood, and Catwoman. And it's so fun, but most of them are super short, sadly. But ones like the Batgirl DLC is a step in the right direction. It's like an hour and a half long with a fun single player campaign and an open world. It was truly one of the greatest parts of the entire game.
So this is how it happens. This is how the Squid video ends.
Arkham Knight is a great game, with the Batmobile just driving this game away from most people. But for me, this game stands as one of the greatest experiences in the Arkham franchise, and should be treated as such. I give this game a 9 out of 10 Joey Tribbiani's.
So before I give this game a final conclusion, I just want to rank the games from worst to first, in that specific order, from worst to first, the second to third. It's like, of course, we're doing it worst, third, second, first. Where are we?
Batman Arkham Origins is the worst of the best. It's not horrible, but it doesn't live up to the standards the rest of the series presents itself in, and for that, I can't get it any higher. Third on our list is Batman Arkham Asylum, with the pioneering this genre, but just falls flat because of its age and the lack of side quests. It is one of the best games ever though, so I'm selling it a little short here. Second, we have Batman Arkham Knight, just perfecting every little thing about the series, combat, and making an engaging story with so much content you'll never be bored. Now, the best of the best, the cream of the crop, Batman Arkham City should be no surprise. It is literally the GOAT of video games. It should be remembered as such.